Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Canine Connection Podcast. Today, Laurie and I are going to start talking about pressure. I say start because I have a feeling this is going to be at least 2 episodes.
Yeah, we need to definitely put a timer on you. This is Petra's favorite. We've been waiting.
Well, it is my favorite topic, one of my favorite topics, because the way I learned about it was not in a way that someone taught it to me, right? Like, it was not something we ever addressed in competition obedience. It was not addressed when I was teaching my dog and competing in agility. It was not addressed when I was doing it was just never addressed, like, ever. So, I don't know, if a dog looked uncomfortable, we were just like, "Yep, you're uncomfortable, too bad, do it." Right? That's just how we handled it. So it wasn't until I had Zeal, right, who was incredibly sensitive and afraid of everything and worried about everything and nervous about everything. And he would do certain exercises, be in certain situations, and look like he was going to die. Literally look like he was going to die. And I felt sorry for him. I did. I felt sorry for him. And I was like, I would do all the stuff I had been taught, like all the games, all the motivational stuff, tugging. It took me like a year to teach him to tug. And I just did it because I was like, this is important. And we tug like crazy. And we did all that stuff. And in certain situations, he still looked like he was going to die. And I was really not happy about that. But I really didn't know what to do because I just didn't understand. And I have to give credit to a behaviorist because that's the person. And I stumbled upon her completely in a roundabout way because I had Zayden, and Zayden was not wired right. So he was not a typical dog. And when I say not wired right, I mean legit not wired right. Like, he presented like the dog version of uh, a person with autism, right? So that's why I was working with this behaviorist. And so I was in Michigan, wherever she is,
Yeah, Michigan.
and working with her. I get it's Brenda Aloff. I should give her a shout out because
Yeah,
she taught
definitely.
me so much. She taught me so much. And anyway, so working with Zayden, and then, I had Zeal there. I don't even remember exactly how this evolved, but next thing you know, we're working with him. I'm like, yeah, he's nervous. There's nothing I can do about it. And she started to explain to me about pressure and how pressure affected a dog and how dogs felt about pressure. And because she's a horse person and people with horses, they communicate to those animals and they train them with pressure on, pressure off. So they have this insane sense and understanding of pressure and how it affects the animals, right? And they need to because it's a safety concern because they're dealing with enormous animals that are incredibly powerful. And if you put them in a bad position, it could go really badly for you.
Right.
So anyway, so she taught me about pressure on, pressure off, even directed me to some horse books, which I read, of course. Don't ask me the title. I don't remember. But, just about, it was like about natural horsemanship, about
Yeah.
like putting pressure on, taking pressure off, about how pressure affected the animal. So I started to say, okay, like when my dog is uncomfortable, pressure makes a dog uncomfortable. So people always ask me, well, what's the difference between like pressure and a distraction? This is my definition. I'm sure somebody that has a degree or, is a behaviorist is going to be like, oh, lady, you've got it all wrong. But the way I interpret it is when my dogs are distracted, they're curious. They're not uncomfortable. They're like, what's that? Right. And I see that in dogs, like their body looks very different. Their face looks different, their body. So if they're like, oh, what's that over there? Their ears are up, their body's relaxed, their eyes are bright, they're leaning towards it, their tail is up or wagging, and they're just, what's that? So Picture your dog in the yard. Watch your dog in the yard. I watch my dogs around the house in the yard all the time. If they hear something and they're like, oh, what's that? That is a look of curiosity to me. That's a distraction look.
Mhm.
When a dog is under pressure, the dog is very uncomfortable.
Right.
That looks very different, right? Like their ears are back, their eyes are like a little like whale-eyed, like uncomfortable. Their body looks tense. It's like they're drawing into themselves. Their tail might be down or the tail might be frantically wagging. The dog might be like panting a lot. The dog is just uncomfortable. So again, in life, if your dog is in an uncomfortable situation, like maybe if your dog doesn't like the vet, what does your dog look like there? Right? It's so pressure does not feel good. So when a dog is under pressure, it invokes primitive response where they want to flee or freeze or fawn, right?
Mhm.
So they want to flee, they want to move away from it. Freeze is when they just stand there. That's what Zeal would do, like deer in the headlights, like couldn't do a thing, just like frozen in the spot and like incapable of doing anything.
And I think a lot of people, when you say that, are gonna be, "Oh, that's what's going on," during that exercise in the ring, and my dog's just standing there staring at me. Like, that's
Yeah, when
that
the
look.
dogs just stand there or
Throws
fleeing.
it.
Like a lot of times they're like, my dog ran away and is sniffing. Stop sniffing. Don't sniff. You and your nose. No, they're fleeing.
Right.
They're escaping. And then the sniffing's a displacement behavior, but they're looking to escape
Escape.
that uncomfortable
Comfortable.
situation.
Yep.
So see that in agility a lot. Dogs heading to the weave poles, handlers overhandling and converging on the dog, and the dog's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
And it moves away. And then what does it do? It's like, oh God, I don't know what to do. It starts sniffing the floor.
Yep.
Right. And then people are like, oh, he sniffs the floor. He's distracted, blah, blah. No, he's escaping the pressure. Right. He's like, get me out of here. So it gets misread a lot. And then there's fawning, which is the whole, my dog is so friendly. It wants to mug the judge. No, it's uncomfortable. It's trying to control its space. So it's like if I frenetically jump on this person and it looks frenetic, right? The dog's like panting. It's kind of like I'm very edgy, tail's going 90 miles an hour. And it's like jumping, 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 jumping. It's trying to control its space and it's trying to push you or that person away from them, right? So that's fawning. It's another way of the dog trying to escape the pressure, right? I don't want to stand here or be here or move here while you're approaching me. So I am going to control this situation and I'm going to jump up on you. And then it's going to look like I'm being friendly and I am not at all being friendly, right?
Right. Right.
Like Zayden hated being touched because he couldn't tolerate like petting
Yeah.
because his nervous system was not wired right. So he appeared to be quote unquote friendly because if you came into my house or my yard or approached him, he would run straight at you, immediately jump straight up on you and act like he was licking you. And what does that do? A person pulls themselves head away and backs away. That's what he wanted. He was like, don't come up to me, don't try to touch me.
Yeah. He was controlling it.
He was controlling the situation, right? So that was not friendly.
Right.
That was him saying, "Get out of my space. Don't come into my space. I'm controlling this situation."
Right. And I think
So
that's a big thing, I think people who don't understand pressure or what it may look like to, with the dog feeling pressure, they sort of default into, well, my dog is just being disobedient
Mhm,
or my dog's blowing me off, right?
mhm.
And when in fact it isn't. It is usually caused by some sort of pressure going on and the dog is displacing in one of the 3 that you just mentioned.
Yeah, like I saw it in, I just had my pressure class and like I love when I have students from different disciplines. I had someone with nose work. I'm like, let me see some of the issues. And it's like, you know, It's a tight space.
Mhm.
The dog's searching in it in an aisle, right? And then there's a person in the aisle, like an employee doing whatever on the shelves, and the handler. And the handler had to be really mindful of how she was moving because it was trapping the dog, right?
Mhm.
Like with an aisle, the person, and it was making the dog uncomfortable, right? So it's it's being observant of the dog and reading when the dog is uncomfortable, and then in that moment looking around and saying what's happening, right?
Yep.
Because that's important information. So I always want to see in a video what happened immediately before. This is why video is absolutely a critical tool, right? I want to see what happened immediately before. So if a dog's running towards the handler and the judge is converging on the dog, and as the judge is converging, the dog jumps on the handler and jumps into heel position, I'm going to surmise that the judge pressure is what caused the dog to avoid front position.
Yep.
And the dog's usually doing it with like ears back, kind of like, and then like, I'm just gonna go here,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
So you need to see the full picture of what's happening in that moment and not just assume my dog auto finished. My dog, or my dog blew the contact. Did it blow the contact or did it blow the contact because it was trying to get the heck out of there because the judge is converging on the dog to, be at a good vantage point to see if the dog hit the yellow or not,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So you need that full picture, especially initially when you're learning about pressure, so that you can kind of like put all those pieces together, right?
Determine
What caused
what
it,
caused it.
right?
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
great example was whenever first started showing in utility, and I try to video everything, and she had come over the jump and she looked happy, and then she came like she was gonna bounce right into front, and then she went right into heel position, and after, I watched the video after the trial, and sure enough, the judge coming around to check that front was enough to cause her to feel that pressure where she wanted to escape it. And so she just went to finish so that she wouldn't have to sit in that uncomfortable spot right in front with the judge coming in.
Right. So I want to see when I look at a video like, A, does the dog look uncomfortable? Right.
Right.
Because that's a sign to me. The dog's uncomfortable. Then I want to say, okay, what could be making the dog uncomfortable? The judgment movement, or, oh, they're close to a lot of people, or, oh, the handler was converging on the dog, or, the environment is really challenging and that the dog is feeling pressure from that. Like I had this great example. This is a while ago. The student had a dog and so she had been in a trial. I knew the venue. And so the dog came running in on the drop on recall. She gave it the signal to drop and the dog didn't drop. So she comes into the lesson. She goes, "We have to work on the drop on recall. The dog was naughty. Failure to drop." She didn't listen. And I knew where she trialed and I
Right.
know that venue, right? And I said, "Are you sure it wasn't pressure?" "No, she was naughty." I said, "Okay, let's do a little experiment. Let's put her in the middle of the building that we were in, right? Wide open, right in the middle. I'm going to stand all the way over to the side. So I'm a non issue. There's nothing bothering the dog. Let's do a drop on recall." Does it perfect. Perfect, right? I go, okay. Now, I happen to know that this building used to be very dark. So I turned off the lights. And I also happen to know, I said, did they always set the dog up for the drop on recall in that corner. It's a creepy corner. It's a corner. It's really dark in that corner,
Mhm.
right? It's a kind of a musty building. Like
Yeah.
I feel pressure. So like I go into the corner in that building and I'm like, ugh.
Right.
And so the wall is to the left and there's a wall behind and the judge stands to the right. So now the dog is between three forms of pressure, right? A
Right.
barrier on the left, a barrier behind the person on the right.
Right. Boxed
So
in.
we put the dog in the corner in the building we had the lesson in. I turned the lights off and I stood where the judge would stand, maybe a little closer just because it was training, right? And she called her dog. She told the dog to drop. The dog started and then was like, screw this. Boom, ran in, right? And I said, see, she's trying to escape the pressure. It's not a failure to drop. And the dog is uncomfortable with pressure. It's a
Exactly.
pressure issue. So now I am never going to add pressure to pressure, right? Because the dog's already uncomfortable. If I say to the dog, naughty dog, you lie down. I said lie down. I'm putting pressure on the dog. So now I'm putting more pressure on top of an already uncomfortable, pressure filled situation. So what is my dog going to learn? Pressure sucks big
Yep.
time, right? Like, and it's already terrible. And now I'm going to get in trouble. And then the error rate goes up. It goes up
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
and the discomfort goes up.
Yeah. I think the best example for everybody to relate to, because everyone starts off in novice, is teaching your dog the stand for exam or even the sit for
Mhm.
exam for beginner novice, right? I think if you took any dog and sat them and told them not to move and had some stranger approach, it would be a phenomenon if that young dog sat there and tolerated that with no issues at all, right? But we
Yeah.
all have to train for that because that's hard. That's super hard with somebody coming in.
Well, I liken it to, and I use this with my girls at work in the boarding kennel and when I had the rehab, because you have to be really careful, right? These dogs are put in, a lot of times they're stressed out. They're in like challenging situations. You have to really pay attention.
You
And
really do.
some of them, they're like, oh, look, the dog, it's a stuffed animal. I'm like, no, it's going to bite your face off if you're not careful, right? I mean, for real. So I would explain it to them, right? And like try to educate them. And then I could see they're not getting it.
Right.
So one day I was like, okay, I'm going to
You're going to teach them a
and
lesson.
do this to somebody. Like literally do this. It is the most uncomfortable thing in the world. Walk up to somebody at a brisk pace and literally stop like a centimeter from their nose.
Right.
Oh, that's uncomfortable. It is horribly uncomfortable.
Horribly.
That's what you're doing to the dog when you stick your face in the dog's face.
Exactly.
Now, and then you wonder why it wants to bite your face off.
Right. Right.
Like,
Right.
I wanna bite your face off, right? So it's the same, like, how would you feel if we went into, like, a building that you've never been into, and I said, "Just wait here, don't move, I'll be right back. Don't move, whatever you do, don't move." And I walked away, and some strange man walked up and started to touch you.
Exactly.
I
You
don't think you'd be
freak.
standing there with a smile on your face.
Right. And then that strange man is touching you and we're yelling, "Stay!
Stay,
You
stay.
stay,
I mean,
bad
maybe if the
dog."
guy's super hot, but no kidding, sorry. Sorry. No, but it's just freaking uncomfortable. You would hate
Yes.
it.
Totally hate it.
And then we get annoyed with our dogs. Like, what's wrong with you? Just stand there already and deal with it.
Right,
Come
and take
on.
it. Exactly.
And then we
Exactly.
wonder why they want to move. They want to move because they want to get out of there.
Right.
Or why they want to jump up and act quote unquote friendly because they're like, get off me.
Right. Right. Yes.
Or why
I
they stand there and they look like they're gonna die, tail between their legs, like, "Oh
Right.
god, oh god, oh god, oh
Right.
god." Because that's how I would be. I'd be like, "Oh, he's touching me. Oh god, get him off me, get him off me."
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. You can read them like a book. Oh my God. And the other one too, adding pressure to pressure. A good example is the dumbbell, like, right? So people who are training their dogs to hold the dumbbell and they literally take the dumbbell. I'm like, all right, well, I'm having trouble with the hold. All right, well, how did you teach it? Well, they pry their dog's mouth open and they shove the fucking
God.
and then they take their hands,
And they
one
shove
on
it.
top and
Yeah.
one on the bottom, and they close the door and they go, hold. "No, you hold." And the dog is like, it's like just getting worse and worse.
Horrified. Yeah. Well, it's the same example. Like, how would you feel if I took something and shoved it into your mouth?
That's what I
Like,
tell them. I'm like, "Want
or
me to
how
shove
would
something in
you
your mouth?"
feel if I took my hands? Like, if I reach my hands towards a student's face, what are they going to do?
Draw back
Exactly.
or
You
punch
don't
you.
want me like touching your face, never mind like shoving your jaw shut. You'd
Right.
be like, "Get your hands off me. What are you doing?" Right?
Exactly.
So I think people have to stop thinking like, I don't know if they think the dog's a robot or it's a stuffed animal. Like, it's a sentient being, not so horribly different from us
Right.
in terms of like what makes them uncomfortable.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
like, if you're standing still and like, if you're walking down the street or in a parking lot and you hear somebody behind you, you are going to look.
Right.
You can't not look. Like, I tried once. So I did this wacky experiment because I'm so kooky. So it was actually at Syracuse. So I have a bunch of equipment that I took out of my car. I'm heading towards the door. I hear a car like pull into the parking lot. I know that I am not standing in the parking lot, but I have this urge to look. So
Yeah.
I'd say to myself, self, this is what the dogs feel like. Don't look. Right. So I'm like, okay, don't look, don't look, don't look. And then the second I stopped saying, don't look, I looked. I was like, oh my God, I just looked. Right.
Right,
And
because
then
you can't help it.
you can't help it. It's instinct. It's a primitive reflex. It's instinct. You don't feel safe.
Right.
So you feel like you need to look. And as soon as I looked, the urge was gone. I didn't have feel like I needed to look anymore. And it was all good. Right. So some of it too, like a dog's gonna be uncomfortable if someone's or something is approaching or happening behind them or off to the side. They're going to have this overwhelming urge to look briefly just to make sure they're safe. And we're going to be going, leave it.
Yeah.
Don't look at that. Pay
Yeah.
attention. And now the dog's going to hear something and it's going to go, oh God, oh God, oh God,
Yeah. Right.
God.
Right. I
And
think
you're going
that's a good one. When I started ever showing her in utility, back to that first couple times, I went and did articles. I'm like sitting there. I sent my article. I hand it off, and she's like, all of a sudden, she's like bent, looking over her shoulder because even though we trained for a bazillion times, like she felt that like huge urge
she
to
didn't
have
feel
to look.
safe.
She didn't
Yeah.
feel comfortable. And I really didn't make a big deal out of it. Like I trained for all that stuff in training and it actually worked out like where it just kind of went away, on its own. Like
Hmm.
but if I had dug at that and got after her about it, she probably that could have caused like a major
A
problem down
huge
the road.
problem. Yeah, a huge problem. Yeah. So I think the very first step is identifying when pressure is an issue. Now, remember, the dog looks uncomfortable because I was telling Lori when we were talking before we started, like, I want people to identify pressure. It's critical, it's important, it's going to
Yeah.
help your dog tremendously. However, that does not mean that every single thing is pressure.
Right.
Because then my students go like on the other end of the spectrum, they're like, oh, that was pressure. I'm looking at the video. I'm like, your dog's fine. Your dog, look at your dog. It's happy as a clam. It did not perceive that thing as pressure. Right.
Right.
So it's what the dog perceives as pressure. It's not what you perceive as pressure. It's not what you think the dog should or should not feel as pressure. It's what does the dog, that individual dog,
Right.
perceive as pressure. Because Zaina might see something and feel zero pressure, and Zesty might feel a lot of pressure from that.
Right.
Right. So it's individual.
It is individual. It's very individual, and not every mistake or occurrence is due to pressure. Like there's other things causing mistakes and errors and
Right.
what.
But pressure is a factor. It's widely underrecognized in many, many sports. I don't think it's talked about enough, and it's not identified enough, right? And so therefore a lot of times dogs are people are handling errors, in my opinion, in a way that's not like the most beneficial. It's not gonna giving the dog the right information, because it's if you don't identify it as a pressure error, then you're going to treat it as, disobedience or a mistake or confusion, and then it's just going to make the whole thing more messy.
Right.
Whereas if you can identify it as a pressure error, then we can remedy that, right?
Right. Right.
But we can't remedy it if we're not even identifying it.
Right. Which is a big thing that always comes back to you have to read your dog. Like, or you have to be always, you got to learn how to read your dog, which is like we talked about. Like, you got to watch your dog, be observant. Like, I watch my dogs, like you said, I watch my dogs all the time. We go hiking, they're running in the field. I'm watching my dogs. In fact, a great example was this morning. I hiked the dogs. We're out in a field. The dogs are ahead of me. They go around the bend. I can't see them. Stormy shoots out to the other side, and her ears are back, her tail's down, her entire body posture is different. I immediately knew something was wrong.
Mhm.
It took me a millisecond to see that. And sure
Mhm.
enough, I went around the corner and there's a coyote on a standoff with Ever. I'm like, great. But that's how quick, like, I read her. I'm
Mhm.
always watching my dogs. Even
Same.
even in the house, even out on a walk, even when I'm walking through the training building, because that's the only way they can communicate or we can read their language is through their bodies. So that in itself is something that I think everybody just needs to work on all the time is learning, learning, learning and
For
reading.
sure. Like my friend, I don't usually let my dogs don't usually play with other dogs, but is one a friend, and she's a trainer and she's really good with her dog. So anyway, she brought her dog over and it was playing with Zest. And it was hilarious to me because the whole time, like at first we didn't even realize we were doing it, right? But we're narrating what each dog is saying the whole time they're playing. They're like, oh, this is really fun. Oh, I like you. Oh, I'm doing that. I'm saying his part, she's saying her dog's part. And then we look at each other like, oh my God. Like, but to us, every second that those dogs were moving and communicating, we were reading that,
Right.
like, really clearly. Like, to us, it was so obvious,
Yep.
right? And I think that just comes from like, she, came to me when she came to me and started working in the kennel, she had no dog experience. She didn't know
Mhm.
anything about dogs.
Mhm.
And she wanted to learn how to train dogs, and she just observed, soaked up, took tons of courses. Obviously I helped her, but it's I think that she's a pet trainer. She's unbelievably good.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, it's because she can read dogs so well.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's because she's really applied herself. She even went to, I don't wanna say the wrong thing, India. This guy is doing this
wow.
study on street dogs, and so it was this, like, for a week, she and a few other people went, and they got to, like, be involved in this. So, basically, they're just reading the dog's body language and watching them out in the street, and it was really cool. But in any event, it's just gathering all this data on reading dog language.
Yeah, and I mean, really, I mean, when it comes to training dogs, like, you have to read dogs. Like, you have to read them to really be able to apply whichever method you're gonna use to help them or teach, you know what
Mhm.
I mean? It's like it's like a critical tool you need. It
It
really
is,
is.
but it's not taught. Like, I was never taught to read my dog. I was taught if I give a cue, dog has to execute the behavior.
Right, right, right,
Dog
right.
doesn't do the behavior. How do I get the dog to do the behavior? Then how do I get the dog to do the behavior consistently? It wasn't why did this happen as much as it was wrong. you need to do it right.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is how I was taught by the majority.
Well, that's kinda how it was. That's kinda
Yeah.
how it was, like, it really didn't matter how the dog was feeling.
No, and it wasn't until, like, I had Tyler, and I just knew that dog was trying 100% of the time, like, hard, like, really give it that dog gave me so much effort, it was ridiculous. So when he made a mistake at a certain point, and people would say to me, "Well, you have to correct that," I'd be like, "No, I'm not," because, like, he doesn't know it's wrong, because if he
Right.
knew it was wrong, he would never do it, right? And that's where I started to think more about like, that was the very, very beginning. I'm not saying I could read dogs then, because I could not, but it was the beginning of me starting to think about more than just cue behavior, right? Behavior's right or wrong.
Right.
And about and then the more time went on, the more I learned to read dogs, the more I understood about different things, the more I realized like, well, it matters. 100% matters because what I'm going to do varies greatly if you're confused versus if you're distracted versus if you're under pressure.
Right.
Like,
Exactly. So I think people will understand and recognize so you're in the ring. For me anyway, this happened a lot before I really had to work through this. You are walking away on either commands or a recall or signals. It happened to me with signals with Ever a ton. Like in training, I can tell when my dog is happy. I can tell when she's comfortable. Her ears are up, her tail's wagging. And then I'd be in the ring and I would go leave her on signals. I'd go all the way down. I turn around and she looks entirely different.
mhm,
No ears. Like, she's got no ears. They're so far back on her head. She looks like she wants to die. She's looking at me like, "Please help me. Please rescue me." And right there, I'm recognizing that look. It's definitely pressure. She's
mhm,
feeling pressure. So then I say to myself, I got to help this dog through that feeling of pressure in that situation. And how do I recreate that in training? So in training, I can set her up with somebody and we do signals and I'm like, touch her, pet her, and she's fine. Like she's like, oh, we're doing the thing where you're be testing. We're doing the whole thing. And she like rises to the occasion because I think she knows it's a
training.
training op.
Yeah.
I can't get it. I can't recreate it. I'm like, and I can tell because when I turn around, she looks like she's like, game on, bitch, like tails up, ears are up.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, this isn't working. How am I going to help her through pressure if I can't get it here in training? So then I had to get creative because I'm like, I have to come up with something so that so I get that same look I'm seeing in the ring. Cause that's what I have. That's the reading, I'm reading my dog because I can see it her body language. So I actually had to take food and I put like a plate of food next to her and I turn around and that dog looks exactly how she does in the ring. That recreated that for me, like so I can
Mhm.
help her. But that's if I wasn't able to recognize the body language, I wouldn't have been able to come up with a way so that I could recreate it in training. That's what I'm trying to talk about.
Right.
It's so important to be able to read that.
You have to read it first. So I think that, watch your dog's behavior in life, watch your dog's expression. Pressure is uncomfortable. They're not going to like it. Videotape what happens immediately before and during, right? And you're going to see like this happened and that's what makes my
Why?
dog uncomfortable. It's barriers, it's people, it doesn't always have to be it like the person converging on it could just be you left your dog and the dog's uncomfortable being left there because, there's barriers around it. There's a judge or a person or people nearby or behind the dog, whatever. So you have to kind of like look on video. So rather than, I mean, I am going to talk about like how to handle pressure because I think that if it's done correctly, I found this really fascinating. So dogs have a negative association of pressure. So then I was like, okay, well, how can I create the opposite? A positive association with pressure, right?
Right, right.
But before I get into that, because that's like probably a whole episode, is we should talk about handlers putting pressure on dogs, inadvertent pressure first and foremost,
Mm.
because what I've seen happen, and this was one of the most fascinating things I've ever seen. I should email her and see if she still has those videos. It was a while ago. So I had a student and her dog was a worrier, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, I know those dogs. And, so what she would try to do is she would try to compensate. So the dog would be like struggling a little bit, and then she'd go like, so hold your ears. Yes! Really good job! Good job! And the dog was like, uh-huh, right? And I'm like, okay, how do I put this without hurting anybody's feelings? And then I had an idea. And I said, I want you to praise your dog completely without words. Say what? No words. So this is hilarious because when I tell people you're not allowed to talk and they go to praise your dogs, they feel like they need to make up for the lack of talking. So they feel like they need to like jump up and
Yes,
down and
yes.
cheerlead their dog. And I'm like looking at the video like, what are they doing?
First thing I thought of, I'm like, jumping. They start
Yes.
jumping.
And then the dog's looking at them like, "What are you doing?"
Dude, you are a weirdo.
And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. That is not what I meant." I'm like, "Okay, let me rephrase. I want you to say the act exactly like you normally do when you verbally praise your dog. Exactly the same, just say the words in your head. Don't do anything different. Don't act like a crazy person. Don't feel like you need to overcompensate. Act exactly the same. Say the words in your head." Unbelievable. Completely different dog. Night and day different. Completely fascinating, right? Because the dog was reading that as pressure and she hated it. Owner acted that way, took all pressure off the dog. Dog responded beautifully. And the dog absolutely read that she was being praised.
Yep.
Absolutely read that without a problem because what we forget is dogs are not verbal.
Right.
And unlike humans, dogs are highly observant.
Yep.
They notice the time. My dogs notice when I get my hair cut because they all go up and they start sniffing my hair and then sniffing my face like, oh, it's still you. Okay. Like they're very observant.
They
Okay.
are. They are. You know, and a good example of that on the human end of it, so you can relate, it's like, imagine yourself at the airport with somebody and you or something happens and you're gonna be late to get on your flight. And so you start feeling pressure, right? I gotta
Mhm.
get there, I gotta get there, I got there. And your friend starts going like, oh my God, we're
Okay.
gonna be late. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, we got like, that is like the right? So then you're like, "Oh my god," the pressure just, like, tripled in, like,
Tripled.
a heartbeat. Instead, if your friend was like, "It's fine. We're good. You're all set. We're gonna make it," then you're gonna be like, "Okay. Alright. We got this."
Right.
So that's the big difference on how we inadvertently can cause way too
Yeah,
much
like
pressure on our
don't get
dogs.
frenetic, cool, calm, and collected. Like you're the leader. Like this is easy for me because I've always, ever since I was very young, like I was always the one in charge. Like I was always the one that everybody came to. I was always the one that like when
When the
things went
shitstorm went
south,
down,
yeah,
yep,
when
yep.
everything's going turn everyone runs to me.
You were the
And
rock.
then I'm the one that's like, "Okay, everybody calm down.
Yep,
Let's solve the problem," right?
right.
So it's very natural for me, like, to just be like, "You're fine."
In that
Okay?
moment, like, see, that's real, like,
Mhm.
again, that's a skill, like, you gotta really learn how to do that, right?
Yeah, you have to be the anchor, right? Like, if you're like, it's like you said, right? If you're panicking and everybody around you is panicking, you're only going to panic more, right? So if my dog's like,
Exactly.
oh God, oh God, oh God, and I'm like, it's okay, you'll be fine, don't worry about it, my dog's gonna go, oh my God, I knew it. See, she just confirmed it. This is bad, you know?
Exactly.
And I'm the
Exactly.
opposite. I automatically, I instantly flip into super calm mode, right? And I stand up tall and I am in control. And I look at my dog and I'm just like, you're
Everything's
fine.
fine. Yep.
You're fine. It's
And
all, you're
it's
fine.
it is super hard. Like, I'm gonna go back to the NOC this year in my second ring with my poor husband because that's exactly what freaking happened to me.
I saw it,
Yeah, because he didn't understand how to really gauge dogs ahead of me because
which isn't
that
what
was
you said at the moment, but we'll
I
let that
know, I
slide.
know. We'll let that slide. Yeah, I'll be listening. I hear about that. Yeah, so I wasn't prepared because I thought I had a couple dogs ahead of me and now they're calling my number. And what did I do? I panicked. And instead of going, everything's fine, I started getting frenetic. I banged into Ever, who is fucking the most sensitive dog on
Dog
the
on
planet, which was like a train wreck. And I mean, we barely survived that ring. It was not pretty, but it was all a bleed out from my response to
it was
pressure.
totally, and then you were so nervous that it made her so nervous, and
Yeah,
she's in the ring, and she's like, she is expecting, like,
yeah,
danger. Like,
yeah,
you could see it, like, she's looking left, she's looking right, she's looking left, like, she wasn't looking, like, at anything. She was like, "Oh god, something's coming because
yeah,
mom's in a panic, and
yep.
this is not good.
It
Something's gonna
was,
get me, like, any
yeah.
minute." Right?
It's
Like,
like
you
the
could
perfect
yeah.
example of like how that just turned into a shitstorm because of my reaction to it,
And
for
then I
sure.
told her, and then I'm like, this is hilarious. So, like, I go up to your husband, right? And I'm like,
What?
look, she can't act like that. Tell her I said blah, 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 blah. And I walked away. And as I walked away, I'm like, he has no idea what I just said. Like, I have to go tell her myself. Like, he had this look in his face, like, probably because you freaked out. And he's like, oh my God, what just happened? And I'm like, she totally didn't, she needs
Right.
to hold it together, blah, blah. And he's probably like, huh, huh, huh.
He
Like,
was like, "I just wanna go home. You guys are fucking nuts."
oh my gosh. So then I was like, all right, I have to find time to go tell her myself because I don't think he's gonna like
Be
be
able to
able to
handle
convey that message because he
right.
had but
Anyway,
again, read the dog in
yeah.
front of
Right,
you.
exactly.
Right? I'm like, I looked at him, I'm like, he didn't even get that. Right?
Right,
So like
right.
you have to read the person, you have to read the dog, you have to see what's going on. But yeah, so
Yeah,
it's getting nervous, getting frenetic, thinking you're helping the dog by acting like overly enthusiastic or overly
yeah,
energetic. And it's leaning, bending over the dog, petting the dog, right? They hate it. They don't like it. They're going to be very clear about it. They lean
yeah,
away, they move away, they jump away. Like I remember was it Zio? Yeah, it was Zeal. Zeal is a very affectionate dog, very affectionate. Probably one of my most affectionate dogs. And I remember it was, I think, anyway, not whatever. It was in a class. He was still very young and green. And I was so happy with his class, right? And it was the last thing he did. And the judge goes, exercise finished. And I was overjoyed. And I bent down to hug him and he leaped away from me, stood there a good distance away and looked at me and was like, I'm
don't
very
do that.
glad that you're happy with me, but calm down. And I'm like, sorry, buddy. Because again, like
Yeah,
if someone looms over you and
right,
in that moment, like there's a time and a place that was clearly not the time and the place in his
right,
mind, right? For me to
right,
act like that.
right.
But in general, people like sometimes they're excited and they praise the dog or they think they're helping the dog and they bend down, like,
Yes,
look, look. Or like just like that thing where they're trying to get the dog in the weave or over and they're bending down and they're like, weave,
right.
weave. And the dog's like,
Get me the hell
holy
out of
Hannah,
here.
get me out of here, right? Or
Yeah,
whatever the scenario. Or like in nose work, you have to be so careful in how you're using your body because you're going to either push the dog away or push the dog towards a false alert
Right.
because your body, your motion, and the most subtle motion.
Impacts.
Again, go look at your dogs in the yard.
Yep.
Subtle motion, big reaction sometimes from one dog to the other. They really read pressure. You have a herding breed, forget it.
Yep. Yep.
You better learn about pressure because they have zero tolerance for our human shenanigans and our complete, lack of awareness, lack of spatial awareness.
Yeah, but it's true, and they're all different, you know? I mean, I'll say this about me, like, understanding pressure, like, when I am under pressure, like, I'm not really a hugger, like, let's just get that out there. I'm not a hugger, I'm not well, it's 'cause how I grew up, like, nobody hugged in
Same,
my family.
same, same.
But Tom, he's a fucking hugger. Like, hug, hug, touch, touch, which is fine. But when I'm under pressure and he wants to hug it out, I can't do it. Like, I can't do it. I can't handle that when I'm feeling
Because it's more pressure.
it's
It's
more
perceived as pressure.
pressure for me. So, it's the same for your dog or could be the same for your dog. So, just be careful where you think it might be a helpful tactic, your dog's totally perceiving that as
No,
more
and
pressure.
it's this weird human thing, right? So, for example, with healing, I feel it, and everybody does this, right? So, you're healing, and all of a sudden, your dog gets maybe a little distracted, maybe a little worried, whatever, right? A little flat. And what do people do?
Bend.
Lean and bend, lean and bend. And what does that do? The complete opposite. And it's fascinating because to this day, I will feel that urge, right? Like my dog dips their head a little bit in the ring. I feel the urge to bend, but I
Yep.
do the opposite.
Yep.
And it works like a charm. I
Yep.
stand up super, super tall. Like I tell people, pretend there's a rope tied to your head and it's pulling you up,
Yep.
right? Stand up super, super tall, and boop, the dog's head comes up
Yep.
because you took pressure off,
Yep.
right? So it's like it's that subtle. And I heal pretty darn tall to begin with, right? So it's not like I'm bending at the waist and then I stand up. It's a very subtle
Stretch up. Yep.
stretch, right? It's a very subtle motion. It's like I'm already tall, I just stand up even taller.
Yep.
And my dogs always respond to that. Like people set their dogs up in heel position. The dog's like, nervous, not whatever the case. They bend down, they lean down. Over here, look at me. Stop. No, do the opposite. Stand up super, super tall. Get out of their space. Take the pressure
Pressure
off.
off. Yep. I have a little thing that I always remember in my head. I always try to remember like a pot boiling, about to boil over with the lid on. And when I
Uh,
start feeling that pressure of that, I'm always like, when I feel that with my dog a little bit, I'm like, stand tall, take the lid off, take the lid off. Like, just like come up with something because you do like for some reason we're like biologically want to like
bend
bend
down. It's
and get
weird.
close. Yeah. So
And I
just
mean, if
try to
someone did that to me, I'd be like, "Could you just back away? Like, back off."
get
Like,
off.
weird. If you think about how into their space we get, if your friend did that to you, you would be uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like, if you literally mimic, right, exactly something you do with your dog, and you did that with another human being, or try your kids, they'd be like, "What? Get it would be hilarious. They would be like, "What? A
What are you
teenager would
doing?
be perfect.
Yeah.
Grab your local teenager
Yeah,
and be like,
and get in
"Come
their
here for a
space.
minute. Sit here," and, like, bend all over them. They'd be like,
Get off me,
"Get
get off
away.
me.
Get off me. Get off me. Get away," right? But yet, we do it to dogs, and
We
we
do.
don't even notice. We just like, "Yep, like, this is just how we roll." Like,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
yeah,
Get out of there. Stop that.
yeah,
And it doesn't matter. Like, Zesty is very unique. He's like the only dog I've ever had. He loves hugs, like for real hugs. It is the craziest thing. He comes up to me, puts his paws on my shoulder, and pushes into me, and I will squeeze him like a real hug, and then I let go, and he pulls me in for more. That is highly unusual in a
Very
dog.
unusual, yes.
Very unusual, right? Very unusual. However, when we're working or if he's, if we're training or working and he's under pressure, he does not want me to do that
Yep.
in that moment in time.
Right. Right.
No, that is not the time or the place for that.
Exactly.
So you have to really think about, and again, watch video. Like the beautiful thing about video is I don't have to say, I just point it out. See how when you bent over like that, how your dog turned its head all the way around, like as if
Right.
its head is not connected? Or do you see how your dog moved away or how you lean and your dog leans? Like you can see it. And you just have to be objective and unemotional about it, right? Because there's that emotional component. Oh, there are giant teddy bears, there are giant stuffed animals, there are living, breathing, babies, we love them. Kiss, 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 kiss. God, try doing that with Zaina. Good luck with
My God. I don't think
hope
any of
you have
my
a
dogs.
plastic surgeon nearby. She'd be like, "Get out of here." But
Right.
they don't like it.
They don't like it. They don't like
So,
it.
yeah, so you really need to pay attention to that. So, your body is gonna have a huge impact on your dog. Stepping into the dog, leaning, bending, twisting, sometimes it's staring too hard.
Yep.
Like all those things a dog will perceive as pressure. How do you know? Look at it. Look at
Yep.
video, see how your dog reacts. They're telling you, they're screaming it at you. We're just not listening.
Test it out. It's easy just to test it out, like goof around with it. Like, if your dog's in front, sitting in a front, and you lean forward, I bet your dog's going to move back.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So it's really a good way to just kind of see how your
Right, like,
body's
just
affecting them.
pay attention to that
Pay
and pay
attention.
attention to your voice and your praise. Like, maybe you can praise, like, "Wow, that was good, buddy," and your dog likes that, but maybe another dog doesn't. Like, I'm a lot like, I have done live seminars and and I'll be like, "Here, let me work your dog," and I'm like, I'm just very animate like, I get very excited when I train dogs, and so the dog does something, and I'm like, "Yes, that was really good," and the dog's like, "Oh
Whoa.
my god, lady, get away from." I'm like, "Oh,
Sorry, buddy.
sorry, buddy. I gotta tone it down a little bit. That was
Yep.
a little too much."
Yeah.
Right? But you have to read that in the moment. You don't wanna be
Exactly.
kind of oblivious, right? I don't, because that's not fair. That would be mean. Like, if I kept, "Well, this is how I praise, so just deal with it, dude." Like,
Right.
no, right? That's
Right.
just not right. Silence is amazing. Praising dogs in silence is super powerful. I've done it with quite a number of students when I felt like
Same.
that was a good option, and it is like I mean, I never use the word miraculous. It's miraculous
It
sometimes.
is.
Like,
It is.
it's stunning. Like,
Yep. And then they're like, "Wow." I'm like, "See?
mhm.
Just go
Yeah.
quiet. Just go
It's
quiet."
just amazing. And so that's super powerful. Same with like if you're trying to get the dog to do something, sometimes just be quiet. Stand up tall, right? Like, for the weave pole, sometimes when I see people post video, I'm like, "Oh gosh, be quiet, point it out, get out of the way."
Yep.
Give your dog a chance to do it.
Right.
Just
Right.
like give him a chance. Like, don't overmanage your dog,
Right.
and we do
Exactly.
that a lot. We tend to try to overmanage them, especially when we see things not going well. The dog doesn't look comfortable. Then we like kind of lose our minds, right?
Right. Right. Well, we
My
try to
God.
take control of the situation and fix it in the half second that we have, and usually it's just too much. Too
It's
much
too
pressure.
much for the dog.
Yeah.
And then we have to, yeah, well, I guess we'll have to talk about that too. Like, when you feel pressure in certain situations, like you need to practice yourself being under pressure. Because the other thing that happens is, so people go in the ring, they're under pressure, right? Because they're nervous. They put all these expectations on themselves, on the dog, and then they're inadvertently putting pressure on the dog without even
Right.
realizing it, right?
Right.
Because they're not aware and they're not managing themselves, which is why like I love when I insist that my students go train in different locations because a lot of times they're very reluctant because they're uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
I'm like, well, that's perfect.
It's a
That's
practice.
exactly why you should go because you're going to practice how you're going to feel at a competition,
Right.
right? And then you need to learn how to handle yourself
Yep.
in that situation.
Yep. That's a big one. That is a big one. Everybody needs to do that. Because you are not going to be not nervous at a trial. You are not. You are going to have some sense of being uncomfortable for sure. And stuff is going to happen to you at a trial. Take it from
Uh-huh.
me because it happens. You need to know how to handle it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I'm not gonna go down the mental management rabbit hole, but you
Right,
have to
right.
be aware of the fact that if you feel pressure and you don't know how to manage that, that
Mhm.
you are going to put that on your dog.
Right. Yep.
And that's not gonna go well,
Not at
right?
all.
It's not gonna go well for your dog, and then it's not gonna go well for you because 'cause you're not gonna be happy with the outcome.
Right.
So, that is a factor, and that is something that is controllable, right? You need to just acknowledge, yes, that's part of competing, and therefore I need to take actionable steps to learn how to manage that so that when the situation arises, I don't take that pressure and put it on my dog.
Yep. Yep. Because that's easy to do.
Very easy to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably a good place to stop. And then in the next episode, we can really get into the weeds about
How
how
to yeah.
to handle it because I'm a really huge believer and convert ever since, all the trial and error and figuring it out with zeal and realizing that like I completely was able to change how he felt about
About
pressure.
pressure. Right.
And that was absolutely fascinating to me.
Yep. Yep. And a game
Fascinating
changer.
and a game changer, but, like, yeah, so interesting that you can actually change how they feel about pressure, but it has to be handled in a very specific way, and it works across really all sports. Like, I've had students in just a wide variety of sports, even in life. Like, I had somebody who's like, "I don't even know if I'm gonna compete. I just want my dog to be more comfortable in these situations."
Right.
And, like, yeah, so how we do that
Yeah, we'll
and
get
all the
into
different
that.
ways we do that,
Yeah.
and then you guys can change your dog's relationship with pressure where pressure cues something positive instead of pressure cueing
A
negative
negative.
feelings.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Awesome.
Awesome. Alright,
All right, thanks
great.
everybody.
Thanks, everybody. See you
Bye.
next time. Bye.